Political analyst Baleni Sibanda joins us in studio. Now, coalition politics seem to be a very new phenomenon for South Africans and especially for the voters. There's been talk of ideologies and similarities. What's your views on this?
Thank you and good morning to viewers back home. I don't think it is very, very new because we have seen, particularly in the past elections, particularly the ANC has had to make coalitions with NFP, particularly in the KZN. So it is not very new, although new, as you may say. And the issue of ideologies, like you said, is actually surfacing as well. It is another talking point. But all said, I think we said it before, and I was saying that it will be interesting to see how particularly the big three, which is your ANC, DA, and the EFF, would actually chart a conversation to forge a way forward around this moment. And from what is coming out, it would appear as if probably the DA is not maybe favorable. Like I had said before, that I think for the DA, it was premature for the DA to have said outrightly they are not going to go with the ANC. And I had said exactly what is happening now, that that was a dangerous statement because it was not given that the EFF would want to go with them. So now they might be left with the option of going with probably smaller parties and all those things. So that is the situation that is happening now. But of course, like you said, in terms of the electorate, people might not really understand what is happening around that and what it means, what is an ideology and all those things. Because at the end of the day, people voted wanting a party that will come and actually deliver services, but they could not have an outright win to actually do that. So in terms of the electorate, probably people who are below the middle class might not understand what is happening. But your middle class, and that is the people usually that are favorable to, some of them are actually what the DA has actually captured in terms of its main target. So you would find that ordinary people might not even understand what is happening, and that is the time where the political parties should actually prove and actually be more mature in terms of engaging with their electorate. Because at the end of the day, people might think that the party is not there for them, while the problem is that they don't have the majority role.
Now, AN7 have looked at some scenarios that could possibly come to light. Yeah. Now, what do you think is likely to come of talks between the DA and the EFF in Tshwane Metro?
Well, at the moment, it could only be speculation, and we don't know how far they're engaging each other. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't really mind that much in terms of what would happen, whether we would celebrate that the DA is not going with the EF. But at the end of the day, for me, I think the political moment within the country is one that is actually favorable to people. The electorate actually have said it all, that even the DA is not the favorable. They have said it, particularly in the metros, that even the ruling party is not favorable. So all the parties that were vying for that should actually be at the moment talking in terms of what can they do to turn around, because what they have given so far is not the most favorable to the electorate. The DA should find itself like not actually targeting certain other parties and excluding others, because this is a time where we need responsibility in terms of actually getting into the metro and see to it that it works. They need to find out how they can actually come to the party. If it means with the EF, they need to have common ground. But like you say, ideologically, we don't see much working we don't see any similarities that much between the two. But they are responsible political parties. They are the big three. They need to come up with something, because at the end of the day, it is the electorate that will suffer if they don't.
Yeah, they need to look at what the voters also has decided. Now, you say that the DA is not the favorite, but if the EFF should merge with the DA, do you think that this is just a coalition of convenience, or do you think it is to spite the ANC?
It could be for convenience, because Because what has happened so far is that the DA was saying they are not interested in actually getting, I mean, in terms of their leader, they were saying they were not very, it was not likely that they would actually have any talks with the ANC. So it means, theoretically, if they stand to that point, and then we find them actually working with the EAF, chances are that they would have actually convinced the EAF that the ANC is not the best, they are the best. But then in terms of working practically, we don't know what would happen between the two.
Now let's take a look at the Johannesburg Metro. What do you think is likely to happen there?
I mean, it's still the same, because if you look at it, the DA, I think the ANC did not get the majority, the DA did not get the majority. They need to talk to any other political parties. But I think the pressure actually for now is between the three.
Yeah.
That particularly, in fact, the two, to be specific, particularly the ANC and the DA. They need to find a solution in terms of how do they get to the 50+1 requirement in terms of running a council. So now we would find the situation where the ANC is talking to the same people that the DA is talking to, and the other way around. So chances are that whoever is going to talk and be more appealing and find common ground with the smaller parties might actually be the one who's going to take the Johannesburg Metro.
So you say it doesn't really matter if it's Tshwane or Johannesburg. Either way, those two parties, the DA and the ANC, they should come to common ground. Either then talking to the same parties that both of them are talking to.
The scenario is the same. The scenario is the same, because it can be either of them, but who has a better way of talking? But the problem that can happen is that if we take the EFF out of the equation for both ANC and the EF, we're going to find the situation where the coalitions with smaller parties is going to be quite a huge coalition. And the problem with that is that you would not find so much of common ground. That will just be convenience. At the end of the day, we know what has happened in the past. We will find that political parties are going to be, in the long run, be swallowed, and without having influence. Because if you go in with 1% into that, the other one comes with 2%. It's not much really to make decisions at the end of the day. It's just to get to beyond the 50+1%. So at the end of the day, we need to find a situation, they need to find a way of making sure that they consider working with the EAF. So that at the end of the day, if it's 2, then you can have a common ground, you can formulate strategies that can probably work around. Particularly the ANC and the EF, I don't think there's much difference. The only difference is actually the level of radicalism between the two.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, now, just theoretically, that the EFF does decide to go with the DA in Tshwane and with the ANC in Johannesburg. What do you think this will mean for running these two metros? Will it be difficult?
You said what if happens in Johannesburg?
Yeah, if in Johannesburg the EFF decides to go with the ANC,
yeah,
and if in Tshwane they decide to go with the DA, which those two had the most votes in those two metropolitans.
I think that will be quite difficult, but I don't see that possibility myself, because if the DA cannot talk to the ANC in Johannesburg, I don't see them talking to the ANC in Tshwane. So chances are that we're going to see the same coalition. If it is the EF with the ANC, chances are that it is going to spread between the two metros. But I don't think that would be possible, that we find a situation where the DA is working with the ANC in another metro and is not working with the ANC in another metro. So chances are that is not going to happen. But if it does, I don't know how it would have happened. But if it does, probably that's what we would see coming up in terms of because the current political situation is such that, the electorate is demanding services. The electorate is very clear of what they want. So those who are with the DA probably know what they want from the DA. Those who are with the ANC actually know what they want. So we're going to have to see a friction, particularly if the ideologies are quite distant apart. We're going to see a friction between the electorate.
Thank you so much. That was our political analyst, Baleni Sibanda, joining us in studio and talking to us more about the coalitions and what is likely to happen if the EFF decides to go with either the DA or the ANC.